Hey guys, it's Becky. I am back. This week, my meditation teacher had sent out an email early this week with a really good question that got me thinking a lot about several things in my life. And it's, what is the cost of not doing something? We talk a lot about the things we know we should be doing, the things we have to get done, all those things. But what if we rephrased it and it's like, what is the cost of not doing it? For example, what is the cost of not going to the gym? Because we can argue all these questions. Membership's expensive, it's too far away, all these things, right? But what's the cost of not going? And only you can answer these questions for yourself. But the gym is an obvious one, right? It's your health, and it's your sanity, it's your stress levels, it's all of those things. But what if we play this out into bigger questions in your life? Like, what's the cost of staying in an unfulfilling job? Right? Maybe you've been at your job for a long time, you've built up some credibility, but it's really unmotivating, it's unfulfilling. You don't feel excited being there, right? So what's the cost of staying? What is the cost of staying in an unfulfilling relationship? I think we all have been in these positions where it's easier to stay. We think it's easier to stay than to make a change. And that's not just with a relationship with a person, but maybe it's with a job, or it's all of these things that we tell ourselves, oh well, we've been here so long, we need to just stay. But it's deep down, if we asked ourselves, what's the cost of staying, despite it being very unfulfilling or not rewarding or satisfying, is there's a lot of fear. There's a fear around, well, then what would happen? I would have to change, right? And I think that gets a lot of us in that freeze mode, right? We maybe want something different, but the act of getting there is terrifying. And I would agree. I've definitely done things in my life where, you have to take that huge leap of faith and just trust, like, oh my God, what am I doing? But it's just because the cost of not doing it is worth more, right? So for me, one of the big ones is, what is the cost of not following your inner guidance, that inner voice, that true you? Some call it intuition, whatever you want to call it, your authentic self, right? What's the cost of not listening to her? Um, you know, I did that, I think, for a long time, right? I played a role. I played a role that society wanted me to play. I played a role that I had already been playing in my family. So it's like, well, I've already started, I got to keep going, right? But there got to a point where that voice inside of me was so loud that I couldn't not listen anymore, right? The cost was just, it was there. So I took the leap and, I listened, and it's scary, but anytime you follow your own inner voice, that intuition, that guidance, it will serve you. It will lighten up your world. It will put you in places that you never imagined, right? So this week, I'd like you to think about those things. Maybe you are feeling stuck, maybe in one area of your life, maybe in more than one area of your life. Maybe, you're feeling stuck not knowing what to do for a job, or you're feeling stuck in your diet. You're feeling stuck in your work, in your exercise. You're maybe just feeling stuck, not even knowing what your role in your whole life is supposed to be, your purpose, right? I want you to ask yourself, what's the cost of staying in the spot you're at? Or in another way of putting, what's the cost of not changing, right? Staying stuck. What's the cost of you staying in that stuckness? And the longer you stay in that place, I find the harder it is to get out, because we all like comfort zones, right? But guess what? None of our growth, none of the excitement, none of the awe, the wonder, the wow factor is ever in our comfort zone. So until you are ready to take that next step and to step out of that comfort zone, out of the role you're playing, out of that unfulfilling job that you've had forever but has great benefits, whatever whatever your thing is, until you can find that cost, you're going to stay stuck. So I encourage you this week, whether you are stuck in traffic, you're doing the dishes, you're waiting for your kids, think about for yourself, what's the cost of not doing it? And whatever your it is, I think you'll know. And there might be more than one thing. And start small, right? What's the cost of not flossing and brushing your teeth every day? Think about that one. What's the cost of not eating a whole grain fruit and vegetable diet, right? What's the cost of not getting off of your phone, right, to do something else? What's the cost of not doing something you enjoy doing? There could be so many of these. These are endless. These are just some of the things that kind of came up in my head. But, taking it to something that's really meaningful for you. Think about it, either journal about it or just think about it in your head. And I want you to listen, not to your rational side, the logical, well, it pays the bills, it does this. I want you to think about what's inside of you. What's that, the truest of you? What are they saying about this, right? And I don't want you to think about the fear. I don't want you to think about like, oh my God, well, what would I do? What's next, right? Maybe there's a class you've always wanted to take, or school, a program that you wanted to do. And yeah, there's financially, there might be some expense to it. There might be some time. All these things, everything has a cost. But you have to decide what's the cost of not doing it. And if you have some great insights, I would love to hear about them. But if you do honor yourself and sit quietly and truly open to whatever comes, you might have some profound insights that might just be enough to get you out of your stuckness. All right, I hope this serves you well. Until next time, my friends, peace.